For me, I would like to speak to our Black lesbian women or queer women who may be in their 50s or their 60s or their 70s and their 80s or whatever, and they are still closeted. It is one thing to be in the closet and it be dark and you're sitting on the floor and you can't feel the knob and you can't see. It is another thing to be standing straight up, light on, and looking at the door and scared to open it. Open the door and free yourself. It is never too late to free yourself and liberate yourself. The things that have happened in my life since I have come out is undeniable. And I would have never thought that all of this wonder and this community and this love and this warmth would happen. I thought that my whole life was going to crumble and that I would be left alone and alienated. That's what I had. But I have grown tremendously by being who I am and stepping into my truth. We are manifesting excellence through imperfection. Please, I know it's hard. It's going to be hard. We all have reasons why we believe it's safer in that closet. There is nothing like being free.
That was powerful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
You ready?
Rolling. Or or maybe not yet. I don't know.
It's behind
No,
the
no,
scenes.
that was-
It's okay.
That was affirmation.
You said rolling,
Yeah.
you?
Not me, Yannicka.
Oh, so it's really rolling.
Yeah.
These are bloopers.
Welcome to the multi-generational conversations. It's called Do Tell. It's a conversation with Black, same-gender loving women, and it's hosted by ZAMI NOBLA. And this particular one in Wilmington, North Carolina, is hosted by the North Carolina chapter of ZAMI NOBLA. So welcome. I am Janice Jones. I'm the president of the North Carolina chapter of ZAMI NOBLA. And let me just tell you a little bit about ZAMI NOBLA, who we are. ZAMI NOBLA is a membership-based advocacy, social justice organization, feminist organization, dedicated to empowering Black lesbians over the age of 40 through service, advocacy, and community action, as well as research. We strive to build a strong community, advance lesbian, women, and LGBT rights, and challenge health inequities. So the North Carolina chapter, because ZAMI NOBLA is based in Atlanta, the North Carolina chapter follows and is committed to the same mission of national. And we also, our focus is the people in North Carolina, in the state of North Carolina. So we travel throughout the state to different cities to find and connect with and work with and support Black lesbians over 40 in any part of the state of North Carolina. And so today's conversation comes out of our work that is being funded by BEAM, which is a Black emotional health organization. They funded ZAMI NOBLA to do this conversation in 3 cities. And so we're one of the 3 cities. It's happening right now in all 3 cities: Wilmington, North Carolina, Nashville, Tennessee, and Atlanta, Georgia. So we're part of a bigger group. And after this conversation, as we're being recorded, and we will be up on our YouTube channel for years to come, for people to see who we are, to learn about and hear our stories, and just to make us visible in the world. Very excited to see you all here. We are going to be facilitated by our wonderful Ashley Daniels. Ashley and I have worked together to pull this together. She is, I have more of who she is, but who she is to me is a friend. We're getting to know each other and work with each other. I have been in the Cape Fear area for 8 years, and Ashley has been around longer, and we're getting to spread our wings and to meet more people, more women like you all. So Ashley is a southeastern North Carolina native with a background as a community organizer in environmental justice, social justice, and grassroots electoral politics. Ashley loves good books, good food, African fashion, and the outdoors. She is passionate about empowering grassroots leaders and began her company, Speak Life Consulting, to provide coaching, grant writing, and support of the nonprofits. Ashley is bisexual, though she usually just says she's gay. She's a Black woman and honored to facilitate this conversation. So I'm turning it over to Ashley, and y'all enjoy.
Everybody has their own coming out story, and if you have a coming out story, you got the hardest part behind you. This is just like meeting community, and this is just such a good time. So that's what we get to do today. It's a pleasure to be here with you and to be a part of this project. I've enjoyed supporting this project and just was really excited about it. I'm looking forward to this conversation and the opportunity for connection that this conversation can bring about. We're going to move into some group norms, and so y'all might have used group norms or heard about them before, and it's basically how we agree to communicate with each other so we can have a successful conversation. So we're going to go over the norms, and then I'm going to ask everyone to introduce themselves, all right? So our first norm is take space, make space. And it's a reminder for people who are normally quiet to share their voices, and those who are used to leading to make a little space for other folks who might be more quiet. Listen to understand. So we're usually wired to reply, but we want to understand, right? That's one of the main beauties of this like intergenerational, multi-generational conversation, that we get to get different perspectives. The third one is use I statements. So if we're having an opinion about something, just want to take ownership of our own opinion and not make broad generalizations. So we say like, I think, it's been my experience, I believe. Please contribute to a brave and safe space. So everyone has different perspectives, and it took, a courageous choice for you to be here today. And we want to honor that courage by lovingly sharing our stories and honoring everybody's stories. And the last one, give and show respect. I think it just kind of reiterates all the other ones. Whatever respect means for you, we want to give that to everyone else as well. And I would like for this conversation to flow really naturally. So for the most part, I'll just leave space for you all to opt in for when you want to answer a question, what order you want to answer a question. But to support our initial norm of take space, make space. If I see someone who's like not really contributing a whole lot, I'm gonna call you and like, what do you think about this? And if there's someone who's like really energetic and like leading most of the questions, I might just invite you to, actually would like to hear from this person first, and then we'll come back to you. All right? All right. So my name is Ashley Daniels. I use she, her pronouns when I'm speaking about myself, but I am actually good with all pronouns. So I'm going to ask you the same thing. So I'm using the word pronouns, but it's basically how do you like people talking about you when they address you or when they are in a conversation about you. So if folks could share their name and how they like to be addressed, you can start.
My name is Alnisa Berry. Pronouns are she, her.
Thank you.
My name is Hannah Horsey, and I use they, them pronouns.
Marge Bell, she, her.
Ariel Gore, she, her.
Fairly Lloyd, she, her.
And I'm told by B, she, her. So.
Okay. All right, let's get started. What words do you use to describe your sexual orientation when speaking about who you love or who you feel attracted to?
I guess I can go. I usually use bisexual. Sometimes like you use shorthand gay just because it's quicker. But usually I say like bi or bisexual.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I usually just say lesbian, or I'm just Ariel, so I just say I'm just Ariel.
Enough said.
Mm-hmm. I like just the broad term queer. It really does depend on vibe and personality for me. as long as I can be a dork around you, I think you're pretty cool. So yeah.
Yeah.
I will use I love women, call me what you like. Lesbian, queer.
I love the like extra hand. She said queer. Other folks?
For myself, I use lesbian. And I was thinking, because I think earlier in this journey, I've used the word maybe bisexual.
Yeah.
And then now it's lesbian.
Lesbian.
Get the head nod. Yeah, she said yeah.
And I love how you said journey too, because it you're never one thing, and you don't stay one thing. It's a broad span, you know. So journey is like the perfect word for it. I definitely feel that way.
Okay. Can you share a pivotal moment in history or a time in your personal experience that significantly impacted your understanding or acceptance of your identity?
Well, the question is kind of academic to me. It feels that way. So is this the part where we're supposed to share our personal experience, our personal coming out thing? Is this the time, or is it a different place?
Well, I think what the question is trying to ask is like, did you either have an encounter in your life, or did you read about someone else's experience or witness someone else that made you understand yourself better? And for an example, Hannah was just talking about like it being a journey, and when I was coming out, I was like, I guess I'm a lesbian. My lesbian friends don't like bisexuals. And then I read Alice Walker. And Alice Walker at that time, I don't know how Alice identifies now, but identified as a bisexual. I was like, I adore Alice Walker. And I was like, I feel like I'm comfortable. But it could be both in someone like Alice Walker, or just something that has happened in your own life that made you like, oh, this is who I am.
So when I think of that question, I think about like Brat, the Brat. I kind of look up to her because like back in the day, a lot of people wouldn't have accepted it. So it took her a while to be her true self. So when I look at her, I think about me too, because I always been true to myself, but I always worry about what like other people would think. So when she came out, that was like, you did it. I was like, I already knew that you was like that, but you just had to make sure that you were okay with like what the world had to say, and you could handle like whatever was thrown at you. So that's like one of my idols. Like she, her and Missy Elliott, they really made me like, it's okay. I know who I am, but I just gotta make sure that people don't try to make me feel this way.
That's right.
You know, in a couple of days, I'll actually be 75. So, coming out in 20 years ago, 50 years ago,
that's right.
or 60 years ago, you know, it was a different kind of a thing. I remember someone in my family saying to me about these women who, at that time, they called bulldaggers. And my person in my family said, don't mess around with them, because I understand once you with them, you will never want a man. And I said, ooh. This must be something. You know, they were trying to push me back, but that was like, this was intriguing. This was, I had to get on. You I just, it's just the whole journey has been an incredible one. People now, a lot of people will say, I'm a dyke. In the day, that was like a slap across your face. My first time going to a club, I was like 17. I lived in New York City. I had a friend that I looked up to. She was, phew. And so she said, come on, we want to go to the hilltop? And I was like, yeah, I want to go. So at the time, I was real small. And back in that day, you had to either define as butch or femme. And so I didn't know how to identify. I knew who I liked. Okay, so I liked the more feminine style. So I then had to try to soften it up, you know what I mean? So I got dressed. I had on some bucks, like desert boot type bucks. I had some black pants. I still remember that blue sweater, and my hair was short and I had a part here. And I was like, boom. So we walked up to the door of this place, and the owner, or whoever was the bodyguard, whatever, had a gun on her hip. And I was like, oh, what? So we went on in, and I was like, okay, I'm being as tough as I could be, baby. And this woman, everybody had on like suits and ties, or some of the girls had on like tight clothes and all, it's like, So she called my friend over and whispered something to her, and she came back, and I said, what did she say to you? She said, oh, she wanted to find out from me, were you a butch or a femme? I was crushed. I was crushed. I'm like, what? So they said, okay, you're cool. You could be a baby butch. I'm like, okay, that's what, that suits me. But that, like, some of the background or the history from real day, real back in the day, It was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, we can feel that.
Thank you. I have to say, it was my first love. It was a time, 8th grade, just really confused. Being told that you're a lesbian, you're gonna grow up to like girls, you like girls, don't you, really affected my relationship with my sexuality. And it made me push it away more, just not accept it. So when I met this girl, I won't drop her name, because if I do, I'll just go in a daze. She liked me. We had the same interest, and anime was the biggest thing. She was like, I don't know anyone who watches anime, let's talk. And then it just fell into us admitting that we liked each other. And I was just like, do I like girls? Am I a lesbian? Is that okay? Because my oldest sister came out as a lesbian, and my mother did not like that. She's very Southern Baptist background, so it was not, I watched her go through hell with my mother, and I didn't want to go through that. I didn't want people outside to be right, because they took it as a standpoint of being like just picking on me. So when this girl made me say, you know what, who cares? I was like, wow, okay, this is what that is. So she broke my heart like 3 days later, but it's great. You know, that happens. So yeah, that, I think that was my pivotal moment where I was just like accepting it. And then, you know, being a teen gay, you're all like, hey, I'm gay. So yeah, and then I met my high school sweetheart, and he made me more confused as a cisgendered black man who also came from a Southern Baptist background. It was very much, oh, so you're not gay anymore, right? Because we're together, you know? And he made me more confused, honestly, because it was, when I tried to step into my queerness and find it, it was always questioned. It was always invalidated. And so I love that I'm back home now where I can be around people who can, instead of question me, help me figure it out, you know? So, yeah. Thank you for inviting me to this space. So, thank you.
It wouldn't be the same without you.
Thanks.
I did not have any words. I knew that there was this tinge that would come when I was around certain girls. When I was little, I didn't have a name. I didn't know what it was called. My family never talked about sexuality or anything that mattered. And I felt that there was something wrong. Like it would go away. Maybe I'll just avoid her. I'll cross the street if I see her. I'll change and go another direction. And that didn't happen. So during all my life, I married twice to men. I have 3 sons in their 20s now. And I went with the program. This is what I'm supposed to do. My childhood was very violent, survivor of domestic violence. Experienced that until I was 30, or 26 when I finally got. And I just kept going until 2011, things started to get dark. I was going, I would say, depressed. Did not go to therapy. Thought I could just handle it myself. But I was in a really dark place. I was coming from the abusive relationship myself. And it started to spiral. So around 2015, I decided to get help because I had trouble with eating. It just came to me like there's something wrong. And when I went to the therapist, she says, well, I need to tell you that you have anorexia. And I didn't know any other black women. That's a white woman's disease, that's young teenage women. I said, what are you saying? Well, only 3% of black women have anorexia. And you're at moderate level, and we would need to figure out what's going to happen in order to change this around. All I could think of is I got 3 boys, and I got to take care of them. I am not getting put in I can't, I have to work and care for my babies. And I said, well, let me do more introspection. Let me see where this is coming from. It didn't just surface. It came from something. And I just really started to look at myself in meditation, and I'm a Buddhist, and I'm praying and sitting still. And a year later, it came to me. It was like this flash of all of these girls and women and throughout my life that I liked. And I said, is that it? Is that the reason why I got this disease now, this mental health? It's because I'm queer? Because I like women? And I dug a little further into that. Started peeling the onion. And once I accepted it for myself, I said, that's what it was. It had manifested and affected my emotional, my mental state to the point of, because I had suppressed it for so long, that it manifested in the form of anorexia. Unfortunately, there's no cure now. You can manage it. And so I have now unlocked this part of my psyche that I can't not go back because I had denied it all my life. And once I said, okay, this is good, then I divorced the husband and told all the kids, and I said, this closet is killing me. And either I'm going to step out and just let whatever happens happen, or I'm not going to make it. And I just decided to step out, and I felt free and liberated. And I think, so anyone, family, friends who were trying to get me to go back like I was, I don't like this new person that you are. Sorry, can't. I can't. I am who I am, take it, and I've lost friends, and I've lost family, and mom disowned me, and all that other stuff. And I said, I just gotta keep going. I can't do it.
Thank you.
Y'all gonna pull tears
No.
out.
Listen.
I spoke with my mom on a regular basis, and this was in the early 2000s. But I knew as a young girl that I was always attracted to girls, and it was always pushed back in my psyche, you know. But wanting to be honest with my mom, I remember the conversation telling her who I really was. Because if I was honest in other areas, I wanted her to know me fully. And that was a moment that I remember me coming out to my mom. Because I really wanted her to know me.
I wanted to answer, but I feel like people are giving different answers. I didn't know if there's like a certain direction.
We're making the space as we go.
Okay.
So whatever your answer is the answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say for me, basically, this is really cliche, but seeing Megan Fox was the first time I
Totally get
I saw her when I was like a teen in the Transformers movies, and I was like, oh, all the guys think she's hot. That must be why I'm looking at her all the time.
Right.
And I'm like, no, that's not. It started happening again when I got older. And kind of like other people said, I kind of just suppressed it, where I was like, I was very confused too, because I didn't really know bisexual characters on TV, or I didn't really know anyone. And I had all these conceptions like, okay, you have to be attracted to as many men as women. If you're bisexual, you know, too, then, you know, all the kind of misconceptions about bisexuals being greedy or they can't make up their mind. Because I felt like I was more attracted to men, so for a lot of times I was like, you're just straight, you don't know what you're talking about, you're like having these thoughts, but they're not real. But, you know, they wouldn't go away. And it was actually when I got into university that I think I started to accept myself more, because there's a Pride resource center there, and I would go there on occasion. In my head, I was always like, I'm here to be an ally. but for real, like, I remember when I first heard what bisexual meant, I was like, that sounds cool. Like, that wasn't like a little, that's like obviously a red flag, not red flag, but like, ding ding feeling, there must be a reason for that.
And then I was like, I wore the tight pants, and I was like, I don't really like the thug. Don't touch me. I was like, I'm gonna be the thug. And then I was like, nah, that ain't for me. I don't like sagging. So I was like, I'm just be me. Like,
Right.
I'm with my sneakers on, and I'm with a cool shirt. Like, and then nowadays the thug girls walk up to me, they're like, Ariel, what are you? And I'm like, I'm Ariel. What, you want to turn or something? They be like,
How do you navigate the intersectionality of race, gender, class, age, levels of ability, sexual identity, and or other identity markers in your daily life? And I'll repeat the question. And also for any of these questions that say like, how you do the thing, if you don't do it, that's also an answer as well. So the question again, how do you navigate the intersectionality of race, gender, class, age, disability, sexual identity, and or other identity markers in your daily life? Ariel, you like you cooking. You cooking up something?
I'm thinking.
Okay.
When I thought about that question, I thought about holding hands with my partner walking down the street. Like, what does that bring to my mind, and how safe do I feel? That might be another question, but that's one thing that came to my mind. Two black women walking down the street in Wilmington. I feel safe with my partner because I love my partner. But the question still comes up of, is there a threat?
When you think about it, it's like, damn, I'm black. Damn, I'm a woman. Damn, I'm queer. Hey, what is this? It's all just something on top of something, you know, to make things more difficult. I think the best way I navigate through all of that is just having the right support system. People I don't have to explain stuff to, you know, who, and even if they don't understand, they ask politely and we just have a conversation about it. So I'd have to say my support system and fashion. Yeah, definitely. I think that's a big thing, is expressing myself. Yeah, and I think that's one of the best ways to do it. Yeah.
For me, I'll say intersectional feminism. That's why I'm like all about intersectional feminism. Just as like black and bisexual, and there are a few other kind of markers. Like, oh, mental illness, so that's a fun one too. I feel like, I guess also too, like I said earlier, just having the right support system. Because yes, there are a lot of differences between us, and we have like labels. But at the end of the day, like everybody is different, right? Nobody's gonna fit perfectly into a category. You're not just black. You can be black and you can be queer, or you can be black and you can be disabled. Like, I feel like a lot of times other people and ourselves, we want to put ourselves in boxes because I feel like it makes things easier. But just kind of being in a place where it's like, okay, we're all different, and just kind of accepting that. Because imagine how boring life would be if we were all the same. That's something I always think about, is like, if we were all the same just in one category, that would actually be really boring. And you really want to get to like come experience new things or get to know people who have different backgrounds. So I just try to kind of keep that in mind about, especially with like pushback against like people not liking diversity. It's like diversity is beautiful. It's just part of life. Kind of like how they're different flowers outside or something. They're different people who have different identities. Sounds really cheesy when I say it, but that's what helps me.
That's right. Anyone else want to answer this question?
For me, it is getting involved in the different organizations. I've always been an advocate for social justice. So when I lived in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, I'm part of the NAACP. So we're fighting racial issues. Then I got involved with the Campaign for Racial Equity. We're fighting inequities in the school system for black and brown children. So that brought up not only race but class influence. When I'm trying to get more involved with our LGBTQIA challenges, I'm the co-chair of the Pride at my job. So it is constantly trying to push for the things that we want, changes in policies and procedures. So for me, in order now, is to get with people who are fighting that cause and work together in order to make change. And so whatever shows up, whatever is speaking the loudest, and then I'm going to jump in that space.
If anyone else would like to share, before we move to the next question.
You know, I didn't really understand the question. Let me just break it on down. I didn't understand the question. It was just too complex. You know, I'm like basic. I am very basic. I graduated from Hunter College School of Social Work with the MSW, but I'm still very basic. So when they get down that I'm like, what they want to know?
I mean, basic is very good. Basic is healthy. in an expanded sense, the question is just the question is just basically saying, like, you know, for a lot of people it means a thing to be a black person, and then that is compounded by being a black woman, and then that is compounded by being a black, queer, gay, same gender loving woman, which can be compounded by like being in a certain like rich or poor, right? And so it's just like, how does that show up for you? Like having all them different identities, like what does that feel like? Is there like is there a certain way that impacts your life, or how you show up, or how you experience life?
Okay, I get it. It's clear, you know. It's a little clarity, you know, and you know, as black women, black people, we always have had to negotiate so many different things, you know. How you know, we have, people say we are bilingual because we speak one way in certain company and other company we just kick it like it is, right? So it's part of being a black woman, a black lesbian, who's interested in social justice causes, a black lesbian who is so acutely aware of socioeconomic disproportionality. It's like, you know, so I guess that's my answer.
And you said you was basic. Okay. Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else like to share? All right. So,
I was gonna say, being informed, education is also a big one as well. Just being educated about all of these things and what comes with it, and being realist about it. So yeah, that's it.
yeah, absolutely. All right. I know you were touching on this earlier about safety, and yeah, I think everyone comes to like safety on their own terms, and it could be day by day, it could be moment by moment or place by place. But we wanted to ask, how safe do you feel in public? At what times do you notice that you feel more or less safe?
I pretty much always feel safe because I know a lot of people. so you could try to run up on me, but most likely. So I usually, that's just, I feel safe because I don't have like a bucket of like just black friends. I have like, I might have a goth friend, and they might about to blow up the school, but they gonna be my friends. So I'm clear, but I never really feel, because I guess because most people say I'm approachable, so I don't really ever really feel unsafe. Yes.
Thank you.
I don't know if this counts as public, like workspace. Okay. Because usually, I'm not currently in a relationship, so I haven't had to think about things like, okay, if someone sees me in public with like another woman, what are they gonna think? But I do remember over the summer I had this one job, and I was like one of the first times I didn't feel totally safe. There were just little like microaggressions, like some racist comments that they would make, like the people in my workplace were talking about like, oh, we have to include diversity and everything. I remember one of the things said, she was very complaining about pronouns, how like, oh, pronouns are so complicated, why do people use different pronouns? And like, I'm not trans, so I don't have to deal with those kind of like issues, but I remember feeling kind of like, well, this is the first time I feel like I've been in a workplace where like someone might not be accepting if I'm queer. I remember feeling that was like one of the first times I felt unsafe, because my previous workspace, we had like a pride group, and there were plenty of people who were like openly queer who were out there, and that was like one of the first times I actually felt unsafe. And I mean, I'm not working there anymore, fortunately, but I guess it's when I realized too that one of the things about having a supportive workplace too, when people talk about like workplace discrimination, like that is really important. Not just if someone's outright yelling in my face, but if they're making little comments and I don't feel comfortable bringing my full self to work, that's not a good situation to be in.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel you. I had a job, and one of my coworkers said, "What's with this LGBTQ?" He said, "It sounds like it sounds like some kind of alphabet soup. What the hell? Why?" But I felt that because he broached it, he really wanted to hear. You know, so it was like a teachable moment. So I'm like, okay, you asked for it. so here it is, you know. But I can definitely relate to people at workplaces with little commentary. I work at the elections, you know, at the polls. And one of the women who's like a chief judge there, she said to me, I wish I could hit the lottery. She said, you know, all of these Confederate statues that they've been taking down, I would buy all of them and set them up around my house so people could come and look at them. And I looked at her. No, she didn't just do that. The audacity to say that to a black woman.
Yeah.
How dare you? So I reported her to the Board of Elections.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I want to take a step further with this question and just ask, like, all these have been like excellent and really relatable examples, and I feel like most of them have been like organizational and like work related, except for, you know, when you were sharing about like walking down the street with your partner. And I'm curious, like, how do folks feel? Yeah, if you're at a bar, or if you are walking down the street, or is that not a thing that comes up as an issue for you?
I mean, if someone's got a MAGA sign, then I'll definitely be like,
They just kind of, for me, because my wife went and hold my hand for a while. So I was like, what's wrong with you? What, like my hand's ashy or something? But she was just pretty much worried about like what the people are looking at. Like, and I'm like, well, let them look. Like, because most likely they might be holding their hand with their partner, and they might not even be totally interested in them either, but like, at least what I told her, just live your truth is what I tell you. Like, who cares if they don't like it? Like, it's the new norm pretty much. Like, either you like it or you don't. And like my grandma used to say, everything isn't for everybody, so it's not for you to understand.
I have a tendency of looking around the environment to see where I am. I must say that if I'm in a predominantly white area and I'm with my person, I'm pretty much not going to hold your hand or show any sign, because I don't feel safe. I don't know what kind of mindset they have. They see. If it's more of a more friend, family, in a common area that we familiar with, then okay, but then it's still going to be a time limit. Okay, I'll hold your hand for a little bit, but we got to be careful. Because you don't know what people are thinking.
Yeah.
You don't know who's going to accost you. You don't know who may approach you. And to go further, it's not only physical safety, but psychological safety. So if I am talking to different people and I don't feel that I'm psychologically safe, that if I share this, will it come back, will it hurt me, or will they do something in order to cause some harm, then I'm not going to share it. And I have done that thinking, oh, we cool, I can share, you understand? And as soon as I would say it, it was visceral of how they came back. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute, is that how you really think? Is all of this time, this is what you're thinking? Because I was vulnerable, so I opened up. I let opened up and I share, and then realized, oops, I made a mistake, that this person wasn't safe, and then I'm done with, I'm done. I'm not talking to you anymore. So it's not only my looking at my physical surrounding, but also checking that person out to see if they are safe for me in other aspects.
Rolling.
All right, with that. So our last question was about safety, and Antoine, I know you had some thoughts that you wanted to share.
Right. I had a couple things came to my mind. One was feeling safe in a group of people that are like-minded, and that's, for me, that was ZAMI NOBLA. I was very glad to find that environment. And then there's always this thought in the back of my mind. I just got through watching this movie again, The Woman Abuser's Place, and the lady who got raped. And that just sticks out for me. I don't know if that's like, if you show too much, something bad is going to happen to you. And I worked in childcare a good percentage of my life, and I never wanted to show the parents who I truly was, because I thought they would think that I was going to do something to their children. Something else, but those are the things that came to my mind.
Yeah, those are powerful. But yeah, I don't think any of those questions touch on specifically the last thing that you shared around like what society determines about you and your character. Yeah, your character based on your identity, but I think that's substantial.
And I belong to another organization, and they changed from saying we're an organization of men and women to we're an organization of people, all inclusive. And I could hear some people mumbling in the back, or whatever, why do they have to change that? What does that mean? Are we all men and women? Well, some of us are different, and we identify as different. I think I did speak up once and say that. But it's like, okay, people will still have that resistance to what they think is normal, to what is not always including everyone.
Yeah. I want to go down the road and have folks, if you're comfortable, because I know it's touchy, if folks are comfortable sharing their age. And you don't have to answer the questions in that order, but just like if you just share your age. If you want to start.
I am 58.
I'm 24.
I'll claim it. 75.
38.
26.
And I'll be 72 this year.
What is your relationship to mentoring? Are you mentored by an older lesbian or queer Black woman? Are you currently a mentor to any younger lesbian or queer Black women?
Okay. So, my mentor is actually chilling behind the scenes right now. Her name is Valerie, wife to Miss Janice. I met Valerie when I was like 19, and I was still in the relationship with my ex-boyfriend, and she was the first older Black woman who was gay and, had a wife and, old. So it's
when I was coming out, I had someone who mentored me. And I would love to have younger people around because I need to stay relevant too. Even though I am OLD, I want to be relevant too.
I think for my generation, we ourselves need to be more involved. I think when you're younger, you don't think about like the huge, like how much an organization can impact you until you get older. And you're like, maybe that space is better for me. But young people do have to take the step to like get involved, like, cause you can shove this stuff in their face all day, but it's really the pop, the wow that like this generation's like gays kind of like about the queer community. Short attention spans is bad too. Can they sit for this long and have these conversations? Because I do think they would be interested from an older perspective. It's gotta be on a TikTok or like an Instagram reel, and that does suck. So yeah, I think that's another thing is that the young generation has to appreciate the space that older women have like worked to give us, you know, to give us this space. You have to just put it in retrospect and be like, damn, like I wouldn't be here without their fight, you know, and maybe if that respect was given more, then yeah. But yeah, I just think younger generations got to take a step to like just get in the space, essentially. Y'all have done a great job creating it. It's just getting into it.
And kind of to that point, I feel like you having more visibility. This kind of goes back to the intersectionality question. But for a lot of times, just when I've seen queer people, like in person or on TV, they've always been white. So for a while, it was kind of like, this isn't something for me. There's no like space for me as a Black, like queer woman to be. And I think we really need to change that because of like this, I think it was the Stonewall like riots. There were like Black trans women involved, there were other Black women involved, but I didn't know that. Like the history's just been so whitewashed, and like we just need to, in our education, we need to gain more visibility that, hey, a lot of these Black queer women are the reasons that we have the rights we have today, and they're continuing to fight. They're like part of these grassroots organizations. They just don't get the attention that they deserve. And that's like a large scale kind of society needs to kind of change. I think. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Anyone else want to answer this before I move on? All right. This is a love question. What's been the most valuable lesson that you've learned in love and relationships as Black same gender loving women? Yeah. What has been the most valuable lesson that you've learned in love and relationships as a Black same gender loving woman? And just for if this makes the question more accessible, relationships don't have to be with the person that you've been dating, right? It could be like, what has your identity taught you about your relationship with your family? Or it can also be like your partner, right? Your romantic partner, but it doesn't have to be your romantic partner.
I must listen carefully and be observant, be supportive and encouraging, and that's mainly and communication. got to learn how to communicate in a way that speaks to the person that I'm with. Say it wrong, say the same thing with the wrong tone. Ooh. So I am studying on how to communicate. I've been studying nonviolent communication. How to phrase it, how to say what I need and what I heard and repeat back, and all these techniques to learn how to better communicate and keep the ears open and listen with full attention in order to be able to show up for that person. And that has major learning.
Thank you.
What she said.
Patience, I think, is a huge one. Communication, definitely. That can take a relationship so far, is good communication. Also, I was always like the therapy friend. I was the therapist friend. I was the one everybody came and dumped their problems on, and I would give them advice and everything like that. And I've learned to start communicating my feelings better without bottling them up and just blowing up. So learning to communicate my feelings better and learning to listen, because that's a huge part of communication that people don't grasp, is listening. And people don't always need advice. That's like a huge thing that I had to learn. Like, not everybody's looking for your 2 cents. Sometimes your friends are just need you to listen and just hug them a little bit. Maybe kiss them on the forehead. That's all they need. They just need to be like babied a little bit. They need to cry, and I need to accept that I can cry too. And so I think the biggest thing is learning what relationships pour into my cup too. I can't just keep pouring into theirs. We need to have a balance, and if there is no balance there and I feel like a therapist, I'm gonna have to put up boundaries. If you cross those boundaries too many times, I'm just gonna have to let you go. And man, that people pleasing thing,
That's me.
yeah, that's a big one. But yeah, patience, communication, people pleasing, all that stuff. So yeah.
I get frustrated and then I kind of take that out. So like when I get home, I'm so frustrated because sometimes I need help too, but when it's my turn, I feel like it's nobody there.
Yeah.
So like I always like, I have like a 2-liter, like she said, the cup, but I'm like a 2-liter and nobody's putting anything in my cup. I just gotta keep going to the store and buy another one. So it's just like, sometimes I just feel like people just need to be a little more understanding when it comes to like other people. Like, it's such thing as being a good friend, but then like, help me help you.
Or like kind of relationships where you choose, you need to be with people who are going to accept you for who you are. Because I've had to unfriend people who, like, we were good friends, but then when I started having these feelings about my sexuality, they weren't in my corner. They were like in the opposite corner. I remember when same-sex marriage was legalized, one of my friends, or former friends, she just wrote this whole like rant on Facebook about like how it's wrong, how it's like against God, basically, that we're like encouraging queer relationships. And I'm like, this isn't a person I feel safe around anymore, and I can't have people like that in my life. I need people who will accept me for who I am, not just be like, oh, I still love you, but what you're doing is wrong. Like, actually accept me for who I am and not think that a part of me that's inherent is wrong.
Correct.
I feel like for me too, also made me, as a cis person, realize how like freaking transphobic our society is when we hear about all these bathroom bills or not letting trans people like play on certain sports teams. Because like at the end of the day, it's not really a big deal, but like people are making it a big deal, and I'm just like, when I hear about statistics of like trans people who are like dealing with mental health issues, I'm like, we're making things worse. We're the ones causing these issues because we're making a big deal out of these kind of things. And I would say, at least for me, it got my eyes more open on like kind of trans issues because I had a personal experience in them, and it wasn't something that was really talked about when I was growing up. So I feel like it's kind of made me more aware of those and kind of trying to educate myself more and trying to be a better person, ally to people who are experiencing those kind of issues.
Yeah.
Like, this kind of stuck out because, you know, like, Nourish NC, they feed, like, the kids who don't have, like, food at home. So he said when he was younger, they would have a truck that said, like, feed the less fortunate. When it comes to that bathroom, I feel like more so they're calling them out, so they're singling, like, us out. So it's bringing more attention when it doesn't have to be. I feel like just put both people can go to the bathroom, because when you start singling people out, that can bring harm to them as well. When you could just avoid all that and just let's just go to the bathroom. Like, don't call them out. So that's how I feel with that.
Well, from right now moving forward, the thing that I think scares the crap out of me is this political situation in North Carolina. And we have somebody running to be the governor of this state who has openly stated that gays need to be executed. So for my younger, please get involved. Please get involved. It's going to be a hard fight because they picked him because, I believe, because he's black. So he will automatically, they feel, capture all the black vote. But the hateful rhetoric will take us back 100 years. We really have to make certain that we show up. It's so important.
Yeah, absolutely.
The poet last night, he was saying, some young people stand on the line for hours and hours. He was saying to get the new Jordans or whatever, what he was saying. He said, but they won't spare 1 minute to vote. We have to be proactive and show up for ourselves. Nobody else is going to really do that.
Thanks, y'all. Well, what kinds of legacy do you hope to leave for future generations of Black same-gender loving women? Or what kind of future do you hope is possible for Black same-gender loving women? Until I see her smile.
I'm not smiling.
I'm
smiling because I'm thinking about being in the same gender relationship now, and my family knows of me and my partner, and that maybe there might be a niece that's 2, 3, or 4, or another generation coming behind them that they can remember Auntie too. I remember her. She did it. It was, I do remember them. And we're not excluded from the family. And I think that would be a great legacy. That would be like, I didn't have that.
Yeah.
So that would be great.
Yeah. Not just that you weren't excluded from the family, but that you were yourself.
Yeah, same gender women, and I'm thinking that I have heard of some people who might think that because you're two women, it's easier,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not, because you're really two people bringing in your history
Yeah, that's actually
together.
really good on camera.
Really
good advice.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna repeat the question. Just in case.
Oh, is the camera rolling?
Huh?
Yeah, I was recording.
Oh, okay.
Just in case other folks don't remember it, and also want to answer. What kind of legacy would you hope to leave for future generations of Black same-gender loving women? Or what kind of future do you hope will be possible for Black same-gender loving women?
Just be you, and be the unique person you are, and don't try to make everybody understand. Just be you. It's okay to be different, because like she said earlier, if we all was the same, it would be so boring. So that's what I want to do. Just be brilliant and beautiful and unique. You.
That's on your t-shirt, ain't it?
Yeah.
Love it. Tool had said something about like a seat at the table type thing. That's what I would want to leave. That's what I would want to leave for whether it's my kids or my grandkids or anyone a part of my family. I want them to have a seat at the big table. Because I was raised by my mother, who's a white woman, and so most of the family, which was rare, that I had in my life was her family. And anytime that we were invited to the house, we were never invited to the table because she decided to date outside of her race, and that was a big deal for my family, or her side of the family. So I want that space to be available because, like Antul said, never got it, and I want that to be available for them. So yeah.
Thank you.
For me, I would like to speak to our Black lesbian women or queer women who may be in their 50s or their 60s or their 70s and their 80s or whatever, and they are still closeted. It is one thing to be in the closet and it be dark and you're sitting on the floor and you can't feel the knob and you can't see. It is another thing to be standing straight up, light on, and looking at the door and scared to open it. Open the door and free yourself. It is never too late to free yourself and liberate yourself. The things that have happened in my life since I have come out is undeniable. And I would have never thought that all of this wonder and this community and this love and this warmth would happen. I thought that my whole life was going to crumble and that I would be left alone and alienated. That's what I had. But I have grown tremendously by being who I am and stepping into my truth. We are manifesting excellence through imperfection. Please, I know it's hard. It's going to be hard. We all have reasons why we believe it's safer in that closet. There is nothing like being free.
That was powerful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Right? Yeah, for sure.
Don't have to call me. Let me just fumble in the bag. It's okay. I'll just hold these. Thank you.
What?
I can't. Nothing I say is gonna.
Competition.
No, but it's a really good seen it, but I've noticed that at least at some point they started adding like black and brown to the LGBT flag. Like,
Yeah.
hey, we're black and brown people.
Yeah.
And I don't like that because it seems like you're basically saying, usually you think white people when you see the flag,
Yeah.
not like black people or brown people. And I'm like, I don't want there to be assumption like when I was growing up that queer people were just like white people and they're in certain relationships. I want people to see that there are all sorts of queer relationships. Like, you can be black and lesbian, you can be black and pansexual. Like, it's not limited to race, it's not limited to gender. Like, being queer, part of the rainbow, everybody can be included in it. It's not a certain type of people. And I would really love for people to see more people who are like, who look like them. Because I think it's really important to know that, like, because I feel like for a while I thought I couldn't be queer, if that kind of makes sense. I don't want people to think that, like, it's not you couldn't, you are who you are, and there's no restriction on, like, or criteria you have to fit in to be that.
Right. Absolutely. Well, we have some pretty good time, and I think I want to ask one more question. And we can just go down the line. Yeah, I'm just curious to know if there's anything that I didn't ask, either about your experience broadly or about you personally that you want to share. I'm gonna let it linger before I call someone. Yeah. Is there anything that we didn't discuss earlier today that you want to speak on, either about your personal experience, your personal opinion, or something that you want to share about yourself? And I actually won't go down the line because I can tell people like arriving at this differently. So whoever wants to speak first can speak first.
I'll speak first. We can go down the line or not. But I think religion and sexuality.
Took my answer.
Sorry. We're so connected, but
Say more.
Say more. Yeah, because sometimes I think, am I going to go to hell because I'm gay? You know, or is that old belief, or are we making the belief new because we want it? So I just, that might be a topic that might be explored a little bit more. I do think about it.
And 2.0. Let's come to 2.0. Our next one. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
I'll say queer imposter syndrome. I don't know if other people have felt it. I feel like, especially like being bisexual, I feel a lot of times like, am I actually queer? Am I just kind of making this up in my head? Like, I have those kind of questions. I know other people have those kind of questions, especially if they're talking about pushing down their sexuality. And they're like, well, maybe I'm not this. Maybe I'm just thinking it. And even now, like, even though I've gotten better at like accepting myself, I feel like there's still times where I question. Because sometimes I see people say the bicycle, where it's like, sometimes it feels like your sexuality changes, and I feel like sometimes it does. Like, sometimes I'm more attracted to men, but then other times I feel like I'm more attracted to women, and it's like, it's confusing. Like, sexuality can be fluid, and I feel like sometimes though I'm like afraid that I'm an imposter and not like doing it right, even though there is no way to be queer correctly. But that's just something that I struggle with every now and then. So.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
I don't have nothing to ask.
Well, many years ago, I'll piggyback on what Antul was saying. I became Buddhist because I was freer to be myself. You know, it was like, it's difficult to say. But sometimes when I was in church, you know, for a long time, I internalized those messages that were not positive messages. You know, and the whispering behind your back and all of those things. So I went searching for something that was more affirming, you know, and so the major principle for me is that everyone should be at peace and have peace, and the world should be more peaceful, regardless of where you fit on a spectrum or where, you know, that's the main prayer that I have for all of us and all of them and everybody. So just really about peace and, you know, throwing out old negative toxic messaging and replacing it with supportive, just lovely, you know, like, you know, let's flow. You said that. You know, let's allow things to flow.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you. I think I'm just gonna piggyback too. Growing up Baptist, you know, you're told all the hate speeches and everything like that. And my relationship with religion was just a huge integral part of my identity. But after a while, I was taught by Valerie that God is in each of us, and we have our own form of God. And I had believed even before then that our relationship with God is our own. No one can tell you how to do it the right way. No one can. And as I got older, I definitely feel like God would never, ever want one of his pastors, preachers, to have hate speech within the language. I believe that God would never tell you to get up on that pedestal and tell someone that you're going to hell because of who you are and who you love. And that also goes for other religions as well, because a lot of times they'll tell you that those are just the wrong way to do it. So just, yeah, relationship with religion is so complicated being queer. And it also for me came with being mixed and being pointed at also for being half white and for being different, and just being told it's all wrong and you need to pick a side, whether you're going to heaven or going to hell. And it's just, that's such a huge impact on a kid, you know, so yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I would like to switch gears for a minute. My experience was a little bit different. I went through the whole religion thing. I found the Buddhism like we launched it. For me, healthy relationships have been an important part of my life. I have suffered and had so much trauma from childhood to 30 with domestic violence that for me, having a healthy relationship, setting boundaries, not dealing with any type of abuse, that's first and foremost in my life. because I shouldn't be here.
Mm-hmm.
So I had come that close. And if I was to say, well, no matter what that relationship is, whether it's with your partner or your person or your family or your parents or even your children, self-care, protecting yourself, and if you see that you are being harmed, trying your best to make a change, get help, get support. So that's nonviolence. I cannot deal with violence in any shape, form, or fashion. I've seen what it is.
Yeah. Well, this has been so beautiful, and I knew it would be. And I feel so honored to be here with each of you. We are going to wrap the recording, and then we're going to talk about some next steps, unless you wanted to share anything.
I was going to say keep recording, but don't tell them.
That's funny.
Yeah, thanks y'all. It's been lovely. They say that every time you share your story, someone gets a little bit more free, and I think that's really true. And I definitely feel more fortified leaving today, hearing you all. So thank you.
Thank you.